Paddington Bear is a fictional character in children's literature. He first appeared on October 13, 1958 and was subsequently featured in more than 20 books written by Michael Bond and first illustrated by Peggy Fortnum. The polite bear from deepest darkest Peru, with his old hat, battered suitcase, duffel coat and love of marmalade has become a classic character from English children's literature. Paddington books have been translated into 30 languages across 70 titles and sold more than 30 million copies worldwide. Paddington is an anthropomorphised bear. He is always polite addressing people as Mr., Mrs., and Miss, and rarely by first names and well-meaning, though he inflicts hard stares on those who incur his disapproval. He has an endless capacity for getting into trouble, but he is known to try so hard to get things right. He was discovered in Paddington Station, London by the Brown family who adopted him, and thus he gives his full name as Paddington Brown. History, origin: Michael Bond based Paddington Bear on a lone teddy bear which he noticed on a shelf in a London store near Paddington Station on Christmas Eve 1956, which he bought as a present for his wife. The bear inspired Bond to write a story, and in 10 days he had written the first book. The book was given to his agent, Harvey Una. A Bear Called Paddington was first published on October 13, 1958 by William Collins and Sons. Stuffed toy. The first Paddington Bear stuffed toy to be manufactured was created in 1972 by Gabrielle Designs, a small business run by Shirley and Eddie Clarkson, with the prototype made as a Christmas present for their children Joanna and Jeremy. Shirley Clarkson dressed the stuffed bear in Wellington boots to help it stand upright. The earliest bears wore small children's boots manufactured by Dunlop until production could not meet demand. Gabrielle Designs then produced their own boots with paw prints molded into the soles. Shirley Clarkson's book describes the evolution of the toy Paddington from Christmas gift to subject of litigation and ultimately commercial success. Storyline: in the first story, Paddington is found at Paddington railway station in London by the Brown family, sitting on his suitcase with a note attached to his coat which reads, "Please look after this bear. Thank you." Bond has said that his memories of newsreels showing trainloads of child evacuees leaving London during the war, with labels around their necks and their possessions in small suitcases, prompted him to do the same for Paddington. Paddington arrives as a stowaway coming from darkest Peru, sent by his Aunt Lucy who has gone to live in the home for retired bears in Lima. He claims, "I came all the way in a lifeboat, and ate marmalade. Bears like marmalade." He tells them that no one can understand his Peruvian name, so the Browns decide to call him Paddington after the railway station in which he was found. Paddington's Peruvian name is ultimately revealed to be Pastoso. Bond originally wanted Paddington to have traveled all the way from darkest Africa, but his agent advised him that there were no bears in darkest Africa, and thus it was amended to darkest Peru, home of the spectacled bear. They take him home to 32 Windsor Gardens, off Arrow Road between Notting Hill and Maida Vale. Paddington frequents the nearby Portobello Road markets, where he is respected by the shopkeepers for driving a hard bargain. When he gets annoyed with someone, he often gives the person one of his special hard stares, which causes the person to become flushed and embarrassed. Paddington's adventures usually rise from him misunderstanding something and trying to right unfair or unjust situations. This typically ends with him messing things up in some way. But in all his adventures he ends up on top and everyone involved can laugh about it. The stories follow Paddington's adventures and mishaps in England, along with some snippets of information about his past. For instance, in one story we learn that Paddington was orphaned in an earthquake, before being taken in and raised by his Aunt Lucy. Characters: there is a recurring cast of characters, all of whom are in some way entangled in Paddington's misadventures. These include Mr. Henry Brown, a hapless but friendly City of London worker; Mrs. Mary Brown, Mr. Brown's more serious-minded yet friendly wife; Jonathan and Judy, the energetic and friendly Brown children. It is never established if one is older than the other, leading to the perception that they are twins. It is when they are meeting Jonathan and Judy off the train from boarding school that the Browns meet Paddington. Mrs. Bird, the Brown's stern but ultimately friendly nanny and housekeeper. Though she is often annoyed by Paddington's mishaps, she is protective of him. Mr. Gruber, the friendly owner of an antique shop on the Portobello Road, with whom Paddington has his elevenses every day. He regularly takes Paddington and the Brown children on outings. He is a Hungarian immigrant. He addresses Paddington as Mr. Brown. Mr. Curry, the Brown's mean and bad-tempered next-door neighbor, who serves as a contrast to Mr. Gruber. He addresses Paddington simply as Bear. Penny-pinching by nature, Mr. Curry always wants something for nothing and often persuades Paddington to run errands for him. He tends to invite himself to many of the Brown's special occasions just to sample the snacks. In most of the stories, he gets his comeuppance as a frequent victim of Paddington's misadventures. However, he does sometimes benefit from Paddington's mistakes and has even rewarded him for them on occasion. Aunt Lucy, Paddington's aunt from South America. She was his former legal guardian up until she had to move into the home for retired bears. Uncle Pastuzo, Paddington's wealthy globe-trotting uncle. Books. The first book, A Bear Called Paddington, was published in 1958. Although the books are divided into chapters and each book has a time frame, the stories all work as stand-alone stories, and many of them were used like this in the TV series. In order of publication the titles are, A Bear Called Paddington, the stories in the first book in the series are, Please Look After This Bear the Browns first meet Paddington at Paddington Station. A Bear in Hot Water Paddington's first attempt at having a bath is a disaster. Paddington Goes Underground Paddington's first journey on the underground causes chaos. A Shopping Expedition Paddington gets lost during a shopping trip. Paddington and the Old Master this story introduces Mr. Gruber. After hearing Mr. Gruber talk about painting, Paddington decides to try his hand at it himself. A Visit to the Theatre Paddington goes to see a play with the Browns. Adventure at the Seaside Paddington takes part in a sandcastle competition. A Disappearing Trick Paddington receives a magic set for his first birthday with the Browns. This story introduces Mr. Curry. More about Paddington. The stories in the second book in the series are, A Family Group Paddington takes a family photo of the Browns. A Spot of Decorating Paddington tries to help Mr. Brown by decorating his room whilst the family are out. Paddington turns detective Paddington investigates the disappearance of Mr. Brown's prize marrow. Paddington and the Bonfire the Browns hold a bonfire party at number 32 Windsor Gardens. Trouble at number 32 Paddington catches a nasty chill when a winter prank goes disastrously wrong. Paddington and the Christmas shopping Paddington buys presents for the Brown family. Christmas Paddington enjoys his first Christmas with the Browns. Paddington helps out. The stories in the third book in the series are, A Picnic on the River Paddington gets more than he bargained for when the Browns hire a boat for a day on the river. Paddington makes a bid Mr. Gruber takes Paddington to an auction sale. Paddington and Do-It-Yourself after reading a DIY magazine, Paddington tries to make presents for Mr. Brown and Mr. Curry. A Visit to the Cinema the Browns go to see a cowboy film. When the special attraction is cancelled, Paddington comes to the rescue. Trouble at the Laundrette a reluctant Paddington takes Mr. Curry's laundry to be cleaned. Paddington dines out the Browns organize a special meal for Paddington's birthday. Paddington Abroad. The stories in the fourth book in the series are, Paddington prepares Mr. Brown announces a holiday in France. A Visit to the Bank a misunderstanding causes uproar at the bank. Trouble at the airport airport officials suspect Paddington is traveling without a passport. Paddington saves the day the Browns' car gets a puncture and Mr. Brown organizes an alfresco meal. Paddington and the Partner Paddington takes part in a local festival. A Spot of Fishing the Browns and Paddington go on a fishing trip and get marooned. Paddington takes to the road Paddington participates in the Tour de France. Paddington at Large. The stories in the fifth book in the series are, Paddington breaks the peace, Paddington causes chaos trying to mow Mr. Curry's lawn. Mr. Gruber's outing. Mr. Gruber takes Paddington, Judy and Jonathan to the park. Goings-on at number 32, Paddington mistakes a man installing the Browns' new television for a burglar. Paddington hits the jackpot, Paddington wins a TV quiz show. A Sticky Time, Paddington tries to make toffee. Trouble in the Bargain Basement, Paddington goes Christmas shopping. Paddington in the Christmas Pantomime, Paddington helps out at a local panto. Paddington marches on. Paddington in the Cold Snap, Paddington tries to defrost Mr. Curry's pipes. A Most Unusual Ceremony, Paddington is invited to a ceremony at a marmalade factory. Paddington makes a clean sweep, Paddington makes a mess cleaning the chimney. Mr. Gruber a Euro² S mystery tour, Paddington and Mr. Gruber go on a mystery tour of London. Paddington saves the day, Paddington plays cricket. A Day by the Sea, Paddington and the Browns go to the seaside. An Unexpected Party, the Browns celebrate Paddington's return to Peru with a farewell party. Paddington at Work. A Bear at Sea, anchors away, Paddington buys a share, a visit to the stock exchange, Paddington in a hole, too much off the top, Paddington steps out. Paddington goes to town. A Day to Remember, Paddington hits out, a visit to the hospital, Paddington finds a cure, Paddington and the finishing touch, everything comes to those who wait, Paddington goes to town. Paddington takes the air. A visit to the dentist, A Stitch in Time, Riding High, Paddington strikes a bargain, The Case of the Doubtful Dummy, Paddington recommended, The Last Dance. Paddington's Garden, Paddington's Blue Peter storybook, Paddington on top. Paddington goes to school, Paddington cleans up, Paddington goes to court, A Birthday Treat, Keeping Fit, Paddington in Touch, Comings and Goings at number 32. Paddington at the Tower, Paddington takes the test. Paddington at the wheel, Mr. Brown has been ordered to retake his driving test after a minor accident, but a series of misunderstandings leads to Paddington ending up behind the wheel instead. In and out of trouble, a reluctant Paddington is roped in to test Mr. Curry's new hammock. Paddington in the stately home, Mr. Gruber takes Paddington, Jonathan and Judy to visit a stately home. Paddington and Bob a Joe, Paddington takes part in the local Scouts Bob a Job Week. Paddington gets a rise, Paddington tries to make money to buy Mr. Brown a birthday present. Mr. Curry lets off steam, Mr. Curry bags himself a free go at Mr. Brown's new sauna bath, but lives to regret it. Pantomime time, the Browns and Mr. Gruber enjoy a Christmas treat. Paddington on screen, Paddington at the zoo, Paddington at the palace, Paddington in the garden, Paddington in the grand tour, Paddington here and now, Paddington at the tower, Paddington races ahead, Paddington goes for gold, love from Paddington, special publications, Paddington on stage, plays for children adapted by Michael Bond and Alfred Bradley. A book of 7 short play scripts based on the Paddington stories and intended for children to perform. The scripts were based on the play The Adventures of Paddington Bear published by Samuel French. The plays included are, The Arrival of Paddington, Paddington Paints a Picture, Paddington Has a Holiday, Paddington Visits the Dentist, Paddington Goes to the Laundrette, Paddington Goes to Hospital, Paddington Turns Detective. The book also contains costume notes and the lyrics of 2 songs, I Try So Hard, and Paddington Bear. Paddington Rules the Waves, a £1 World Book Day book, Paddington Here and Now, published as part of the series' 50th anniversary celebrations. Paddington's Cookery Book, Blue Peter and Beyond. Author Michael Bond was also a BBC TV cameraman who worked on the popular children's television programme Blue Peter. After this was revealed in 1965, a special Paddington story in which he got mixed up in the programme itself appeared in the Blue Peter annuals for many years. They were collected in the novel-length Paddington's Blue Peter storybook in 1973. A second book based around Blue Peter was titled Paddington on Screen. Television. The BBC television series Paddington, produced by Michael Bond and London-based animation company Film Fair, was first broadcast in 1975. The storylines were based on comedic incidents from the books, chosen to appeal to the TV audience, which included much younger children than those the books were written for. This series had an extremely distinctive appearance, Paddington was a stop-motion puppet moving in a three-dimensional space in front of two-dimensional backgrounds, while all other characters were 2D drawings. In one scene, Mr. Brown is seen to hand Paddington a jar of marmalade that becomes 3D when Paddington touches it. Animator Ivor Wood also worked on The Magic Roundabout, The Wombles, and Postman Pat. The series was narrated by Michael Hordran. In the United States, episodes aired on PBS, on the syndicated series Romper Room, on Nickelodeon as a segment on the program Pinwheel, and on USA Network as a segment on the Calliope in the late 1970s and early 1980s, as well as in between preschool programming on the Disney Channel as a segment on the program Lunchbox from the late 1980s into the 1990s. The series also aired on HBO in between features, usually when they were airing children's programs. The series won a silver medal at the New York Film and Television Festival in 1979, the first British animated series to do so. Paddington Bear's 1989 television series was the first by a North American company, Hanna-Barbera. This series was traditional two-dimensional animation and featured veteran voice actor Charlie Adler as Paddington and Tim Curry as Mr. Curry. The character of an American boy named David, Jonathan and Judy Brown's cousin who arrived in London on the same day as Paddington, was added to the stories in the 1989 cartoon. The most recent series, produced by Sanao Films, was first broadcast in 1997 and consisted of traditional two-dimensional color animation. The show was called The Adventures of Paddington Bear. Paddington Bear also appeared in the official BBC Children in Need medley with Peter Kay along with several other animated characters. In the video, Paddington makes a grand appearance by winking at the cameramen when they take photos of him. Kay tries to put a cloak on Paddington, but it keeps sliding off. He also joins the rest of the group for the final act. Home Media, in 2011, Mill Creek Entertainment under the license of Cookie Jar Entertainment, released the complete original 1975 Paddington Bear series on DVD. The 3-disc set also featured 3 half-hour television specials, Paddington Birthday Bonanza, Paddington Goes to School, and Paddington Goes to the Movies along with 15 bonus episodes of The Wombles and Huxley Pig. It also had special features for children on DVD-ROM. Film adaptation. In September 2007, Warner Brothers and producer David Heeman announced a live-action film adaptation of Paddington Bear. Hamish McColl, who penned Mr. Bean's Holiday, will write the script. The film will not be an adaptation of an existing story, but will draw inspiration from the whole series, and will feature a computer-generated Paddington Bear interacting with a live-action environment. Colin Firth had been announced to voice Paddington, however he announced his withdrawal June 17, 2014. In July 2014 it was announced that Ben Whishaw had replaced Firth. On June 25, 2012, an official teaser poster was released for the film. It states that the film will be released during 2014. A trailer was later released confirming the release to be November 28, 2014. In popular culture, Paddington Bear features in the Marmite UK TV advertisement, in which he tries a Marmite and cheese sandwich instead of his traditional marmalade sandwich. Paddington was featured on the Royal Mail First Class stamp in the Animal Tales series released on January 10, 2006, and had previously been featured on one of the First Class Greetings Messages stamps, released on February 1, 1994. On October 13, 2008, Google celebrated the 50th anniversary of the first Paddington publication by placing an image of the traveling bear with a sign showing Peru and London incorporated into Google's logo. Notes. References. External links, Paddington Bear official website, Paddington Bear official Facebook page, Paddington at the Internet Movie Database, Michael Bond biography.